right, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope that you're doing well. Welcome to Better Podcast with yours truly, DMP Speaks. I'm so glad that you are spending time with me. It's going to be a wonderful time. You might say, well, you're not by yourself. No, I'm never by myself. God is always with me. But I got somebody else that is just magnificent. And we're going to introduce her in just a moment. But if you don't know who I am, and if this is your first time coming on my podcast, welcome. My name is David M. Pinkston, but I go by the name of DMP Speaks. I'm an empowerment speaker. I'm a board certified Christian counselor, but I'm also a family restoration specialist, which means I come to grow and help and will rebuild your family dynamic. And I do this podcast every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I come and I do various topics, hot topics that has to do with family. We're going to also get into marriage at another time. I'm going to have my wife come on another time, but we are here to serve you and your family. But tonight, and how I have been doing for the whole month of March, special topic. This is about Women's History Month. And our theme for this month is She Got It. She got it all. And I've had some wonderful women that have come on. And I have another amazing and wonderful woman of God. I want to introduce you all to Pastor Tonya Morris. She is a wonderful big sister to me, but she is a powerful woman of God. So I'm going to read her bio before she gets and starts talking. So it's a little lengthy because that she's done quite a bit. But I want you all to know that everything that I read is something that really speaks to her, and she's going to be able to speak about her story and all that good stuff. But I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you guys to share this, because this conversation is not only going to be entertaining. We're going to have a good time, but it's going to help you. And I'm reaching out to our friends, our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, but I'm really looking for the sisters to please share this with someone. So let me go ahead and read this particular bio. So it says, Pastor Tonya Morris, servant leader of the nonprofit organization called Redirection Outreach Ministries. It says, our mission is to change the course for those that are lost and misguided who struggle to navigate life. Redirection has been serving women and teens in the community since 2009. The ministry served women in transition at Redirection House from 2015 to 2017. Redirection's ministry also started a pilot mentorship program called Building a Better Me, which ran for 2 years, serving women ages 16 and up, teaching life skills and motivated them on this journey to their best self. Excuse me. Tonya wears many hats. Many hats. One of which is the CEO of her own magazine. Well, we got a copy of this called Lovely Lady Magazine LLC, and we're going to talk about that in the show as well, which is nationally distributed through the U.S. in Barnes & Nobles, Penn News, and Books A Million stores. The magazine empowers women of all ages, races, and cultures to bring healing holistically, mind, body, and spirit. Tonya is also a co-host of the weekly show on Facebook called The Edge, where she discusses current day issues, trauma, or situations that may have pushed individuals to their personal limits and have them on the edge. Last but not least, Tonya orchestrates a quarterly conference called The Prepare, which is a fellowship of women where Tonya provides encouragement through spoken word, personal testimonies, and activities that bring self-awareness of change you may need in particular areas of your life. She has been ordained in ministry for 20 years. She has served as a missionary, evangelist, teacher, worship leader, and currently co-pastor of Redirection Ministry Worship Center under her husband, my big brother, Pastor Yusef Morris. So I'm going to stop here because there's more, but she'll tell you a little bit about what she does. But the little bit that I read, you see that I had to bring these wonderful women onto my podcast. So, with that being stated, let me introduce you again to Pastor Tonya Morris. How are you?
I'm fine. I am fine. And thank you so very much for having me on your show. It is an honor and a privilege to be here. And hello to everyone.
Awesome. So I think this, and you guys already know she's got this. But we're talking about women in entrepreneurship and ministry. We're talking to a pastor. We're talking to somebody, a servant leader that does entrepreneurship. Because we had one that did entrepreneurship last week, Miss Michelle D. Clark. But this one here, she does ministry and she serves the community continuously, right? So, what
Mhm.
I want to ask you to do, I want you to talk about yourself a little bit in your business. Take your time because I really want people to really gather in, just beyond, the bio. Talk a little bit about you and this amazing journey that you have.
Amen, amen. Well, I thank you again for the opportunity. Well, I'm just like everybody else. I am a woman that is a mother, a wife, a sister, a friend, and entrepreneur, and I'm just trying to navigate through life and be the best that I can be, having some ups, having some downs, some serious difficulty in life with loving myself and in and out of toxic and relationships and making a lot of bad choices in life. But I had to get to a place, and I thank God with his help and his strength and the resiliencies that he's placed inside of me to find a better way, a better path. God redirected me. So I'm just grateful for the redirection, and it's planted my feet, and I'm still learning. And all the things that I do right now
Mhm.
and I have done, I thank God for those opportunities to be able to do it, but I'm still learning. So, as far as the magazine and the entrepreneurship, I honestly did not look at it as an entrepreneurship. Yes, it's the Lovely Lady magazine, and it just started as an ideal. There was some things, it became a platform really for me because I was ordained in ministry and I really been doing ministry close to more like 30 years. I know the
Mm,
bio said 20, but maybe over 30 years. But the Lord allowed another platform because the ministry that I had is very transparent. God has given me the ability to be very open and very honest about my struggles, about my past, and about some of the things that I've overcome. Why?
mhm.
Because it is to help others to be able to
That's right.
overcome. So, being in ministry for so long, I never thought of the magazine as being um, entrepreneurship or being business. It was a ministry. So I was being rejected in the church because of my transparency. Nobody wants to hear that you at some point you were having thoughts of suicide, but you are a missionary in the church. And that was like, no, you can't say those things. No, but those are real things and real problems and real
That's right.
issues that we struggle with. We
Mhm.
struggle with anxiety and depression. We struggle with loss. We grieve. We are real people. So I was just being a real person, and I just happened to wear a collar and be in ministry, but I needed to allow people to see the transparency. And that's what God gave me. So when I was being rejected in the church, the Lord had just allowed another platform. So I started out with it being the internet and doing mostly all women's ministry. And the Lord just allowed your gifts will make rooms for you.
That's
So
right.
I was on a radio station and I was talking to someone, and then it just kind of went from there. People started taking notice. And so the God will show you as you mature in ministry that it's okay that if it's a business, but the ministry piece of it, just all God. And I really was surprised at where he took it. So, it's just not about me anymore. The
Mhm.
world needs to know. So somebody heard my story. They saw the magazine and they helped me to say, hey, let's expand this. So I'm just
Okay.
grateful for the journey and what God has allowed is touching lives, and that's all I really want. I really want for it to touch lives and to help people that is on this journey to their best self. So
That's
that's it
awesome.
as far as the magazine. So I just one day, one step at a time. So the Lord just keeps pouring in me and I just keep letting it out. So
That's good.
yes, yes.
So I love what you said. You just kind of went down memory lane of your journey. But I wanted
Hmm.
to ask you a couple questions.
Yes,
One question I want to ask you, you kind of stayed there when it came to being a ministry, because we're this podcast is versatile. It's versatile,
yes.
excuse me.
Hmm.
Can you talk about, and then we can go back to your story, but that really interests me. Could you talk about some of the struggles that you face when you're in ministry, you're young, you're vibrant, God has given you this to tell other women that they could come out, but you said you were rejected. But
Yes.
we're the church, but you were rejected. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, yes. So, the call and what God is calling you to do will become so loud. And I say this all the time that you cannot ignore it. So I was
Mm,
in the church and I had great leaders and, you know, um, I was an obedient servant in the church.
mhm,
So I was always doing what I was instructed. So at some point in time, and it was never about doing what I want to do. I heard the voice of the Lord, and there was more that I was supposed to do. So I started moving in such a way where I was doing what God was wanting me to do, but then what man wanted me to do became a struggle and a tug of war.
okay.
So I wasn't going to fight, and I stayed stable. And I'm not a runner, as far as church hopping and things like
Right.
that. So I stayed stable for many, many years until that voice got even louder, and God was going to do what He wanted to do and use me how He wanted me to do. So, you know, um, as God matured me in ministry, He began to speak to me, and there was, like I said, very transparent a very transparent times. And so what it did is it brought a focus in on our reality as being in ministry. I remember one topic that I spoke about being behind the mask. And the
Mm,
mask is just, we're going to put this mask on and present to the people that we're okay. But if you
mhm,
open us up and if you take that mask off, you will see the reality of what a person was. So what God wanted me to do, He said, take off the mask. I need you to be very transparent and honest and share your reality. So the more I tried to share my reality, the more I was being silenced.
mm.
So, just saying you can't say those things, And I think, a lot of times that not being able to say those things, it was simply because people were feeling that, and the reality was coming out, and they were actually, maybe it was an exposure in some kind of way.
Yeah,
So but the Lord just wanted
exactly.
me to be honest,
Mhm,
so it wasn't rejected by the people, but I was just a person that was kind of like, you know what, you are going to be silent. So I had to pray about it long and hard, and I had to make a decision where I had to walk away from some things and be allowed to be utilized by God and not just by man. So I thank God for the
Can I
people
ask a
that
question?
I
I don't
have
mean
met.
to
Yes.
interject, I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Were you afraid? Were
I
you
was
afraid to
terrified.
walk away?
I was terrified
Okay.
because it was all that I knew. It was all that I knew, but I had to get to the place. And then when I did walk away, I was blacklisted. I was, told people do not. I think right now I'm finally recovering from that years
Ah,
and years later.
ouch.
So people have to learn how to love you and accept you for you. So
Yes.
but sometimes it can become, and I'm going to be very honest, it can become very clicky.
Mhm.
So it's easier for them to stay together, but and I always say this because it was very hurtful. It was very I was very afraid because when the scripture talk about if if a shepherd have 100 sheep and one goes astray, does he
Mm-hmm.
go after that one sheep or does he go after the 99? Well, I
Right.
didn't go astray, but I was left alone. So all the other sheep stayed together, and I was just this sheep left unguarded, unprotected, and it was all that I knew. I was raised up in this. I didn't know anything else. So I
Yeah.
said, Lord, all I did was what you told me to do, and now look where I am. So
Mm-hmm.
it took a lot of rebuilding, praying, and faith, and awesome people along the way to help me. So yes, I was terrified.
Wow. Wonderful. See, the reason why I asked you that because there might be a woman, a mother, um, they're afraid that there's something that they're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
and they know what God has said. They know they got the tools they got in their toolkit. They know what they know. They know,
Yeah. Yes.
but they're afraid to move. And they came to you. I got all the tools, Pastor Tanya. I got the entrepreneurship. I've been praying on it. This is what I know I'm supposed to do.
Hmm.
And but I'm scared of the backlash. I know the backlash is coming. I know it's coming.
Hmm.
What would you tell that that woman of God, that mother that got it? She got it, but she's
Right.
so afraid to take that step. What would you tell them?
Well, our only thing that I really could tell them is that we have to do what God has called us to do. We have to be, God has built us tough. God has fashioned us in such a way that anything that He's calling us to do, if He calls us, He's going to qualify us and He's going to equip us to do the work.
That's right.
So, we're diamonds, ladies. So, where do you find a diamond? Where does it begin? In the coal. And so it has to be dug up and then it's put into the hottest fire in order for all the impurities to come off of it. And then it's what? Cut and then it's certified. So that's what's happening with us as women. We put through the fire.
Mm. Speak
You
it.
we cut,
Speak it.
we stabbed in the back.
That's real,
But
Pastor
God has
Tanya.
called us and He certified us. And He's
Yes.
certifying us in this day to do everything that He's called us to do. So I would just use that resilience. Ladies, we know, don't mess with our children, don't mess with our family. We going to
Hmm.
do any and everything we got to do. It should be the same way with God.
That's so
So when
good.
He's calling us up and calling us out, go forth. The scriptures say we cannot be afraid of their faces. Don't be worried about what they're going to say. So, because if God called you to it, He going to get you through it. So, yes, there's going to be times where that you may be alone. Embrace that alone because you're getting to know yourself and you're getting closer to God. But we really never alone because we got all the help that we need.
Hmm.
So, it's important that once you hear that call and once you hear that voice, to move out. Girl, you got this. Ain't this what this show is about? You
That's
got
right.
it and
Got
you
it.
can do it. And don't let nothing hold you back from it. The resiliency that we have, that ability to bounce back no matter what, it took me some years to finally say, oh, brush my shoulder off. This is
Hmm.
who you called me to be.
That's it.
And if don't nobody like it, as long as you love it, I'm all right. So, don't be afraid. You got to step out and you got to be all that you called to be.
I love that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna step back a little bit. So we talked about ministry, but let's talk about some of, if you don't mind, some of the struggles that you said that you went through in relationships. You don't got to go as deep, but you go as deep as you want to
Hmm.
help that again, help we help them in ministry,
Right,
right?
right.
But practically, that woman that dealt, could you share a little bit of how you got to this particular place that you are,
Yes.
not just sitting where you are, but
Right.
commanding that. Because if I could, can I tell them what I see
Come.
when I look at my
Yes.
big sister? That's the
Yes.
time she demands the room. That's what she does, and she doesn't do it because she thinks she's better than me. That's not her spirit. That's not her spirit. She does it because there's a confidence that she walks in. And I've always wanted to ask her. So now she's on my show. So I get to ask her, where did that confidence come from? Where did that that giant walk that she does, where did that come from? I'm just being honest, because you
Wow.
walk in that, because you see she's glamorous. My big sister's glamorous, but there's a strength that she has, and that can't be taught. That has to be
No.
from somewhere. So if you could talk a little bit about your story that got you to this place to be the strong woman that you are.
Well, yes. Well, thank you, first of all, for that.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Yes,
really
ma'am.
appreciate that. It's like, wow, that's me. But I do. I give God, I
Yes,
give God
ma'am.
all the glory and all the honor. But I haven't always been this way. I grew up, and part of my story is in this latest issue of the magazine, and I was raised by my grandmother. My father, he passed away when I was a very young, and my mother, she never raised me, but she's been around, but she suffered for with mental health all of my life. So
Okay.
I was brought up, and I know a lot of people say, the stigma of certain things, like no father around, no mother around, with a grandmother who was old from the time that she basically took care of me. I was raising my younger siblings, and when she passed away, we basically were, left alone. We had family, but I had to care for my siblings, and I was just a child myself with a child at that time, and we were raising each other. So I made a lot of mistakes coming up. I strayed away from the church. The pain and the heartache and the suffering and all the things, I was in and out of toxic relationships. I even talk about in the story how my virginity was taken from me,
Mm,
and not
wow.
by choice, but it was something that I felt obligated to do
Wow.
because I was lost and I was misguided. So again, if you're young, and I was trying to take care of my siblings and my own family, and again, the toxic relationships in and out. I've been married and divorced and married and divorced, but I was searching for something. The
Mm,
whole time I was searching for something that I did not have. So, I always looked at people and I wanted to have my own. I would just dream, like when I see the Cosby's, like, wow, that's the family that I would want to have.
that's
So
heavy.
when I got with in certain relationships, I became attached in such a way that I was trying to make it my own. So I was always giving 110% of myself to not just in relationships, but
Mhm.
to people, because I was trying to plant a little bit of me everywhere so that I can have my own. I
Mm,
just needed to feel loved. My self-esteem was down. I'm one of the darker ones in my family, so I always felt, kind of different.
okay.
So, so I had little issues that stemmed from growing up into my teen years, and then my adult female life. As I became older, I had
Mhm.
major issues. Most of it was depression,
Mm,
suffering from anxiety, fear, loneliness. So I was not always that person, but God. I've
yeah.
always had a relationship with God. I've always been crying out and praying. I've always been asking for help. So every time I got to that place where I felt like I was going to drown, God sometimes
Mm,
snatched me right up. Every time I got to that place where it was so heavy for me, in and out of relationships. And like I said, being cheated on in marriages and infidelity, just all of the stuff that was just happening.
yeah.
So all of it just kind of compiled, and I wanted to die. I no longer wanted to live anymore. I didn't want to be on this earth. So, there were times where when I wake up in the morning, I would cry because I was still here.
Mm.
So,
Whew.
that's a terrible place. It's a lonely place.
Wow.
So, I had to realize,
Mhm.
and it was only through the help of God. And then on top of all of that, that was around the time where the church was rejecting me.
Yeah.
So I really felt like I was in this world alone. I
Mm.
was an orphan. I was a widow. My husband had not died, but the definition of a widow is someone whose partner or spouse who frequently leaves them or
Right.
abandoned them.
Right.
So I was in that state of grief, and so much was happening. So, but the Lord had to grab me. He had to literally snatch me out. So when I tell people to embrace your alone time, I'm not saying it because you will always be alone, but in that time,
Yeah.
that's like that's like your Moses on the mount time. Get
Yeah.
to know God, get to know you. So in that time, I begin to, God began to speak to me, speak into my spirit. And the closer my relationship came with God, the more valuable I felt.
Mm.
So
Can
I
you say
had
that
to get
again? Can you say
the
that again? I'm sorry.
closer. Yes, the closer my relationship with God, the more valuable I felt.
Whew, Lord,
So I found something in that. I
that's so
found
good.
something in God that I couldn't find in any man. I
Mm.
found something in God that I couldn't find in any church.
Yeah.
I found something in God that I couldn't find in any family that may have walked away or couldn't help me at that moment. So
Hmm.
I found something in God. So when God became like my only friend and my only thing, and when I totally sold out and gave myself and surrendered to God,
Mm.
he began to show me
Yeah.
and who I was in him. So there were times where I would always walk in a room and keep my head down. There was times that I would always cover myself up. There was times that I was just feeling worthless. But God again came up and grabbed me. He
Yes,
pulled
ma'am.
me up out of the quicksand. Where I was spiraling down, he shifted that wind and blew me up.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful that he did that. So the more time I spent in my word, I found my value. The more
Hmm.
time I spent on my knees, I
Yeah.
found my value.
Yes.
So I had to be able to preach and walk into what I was saying. So I'm telling people to get their life, be your best self. So I had to learn that. So
Mm.
once I did that, I commanded that. You know how you said, like, I command a room when I walk
Hmm.
in? No, I'm commanding that. You have to be the first person to teach people how to treat you,
Oof.
because if you don't, they will treat you any old way. If
Anyway.
you got to know your worth and your value, and you
Yes.
got to know that you're better than some stuff that people are dishing out. I used to always say, that I was dealt the hand that God gave me. So you know what, you can't just dish any hand out to me and think that
That's right.
I'm just going to accept it. If it's a losing hand, I'm done. So and it's not about a cockiness, but it's about knowing your worth and
That's
knowing who
right.
you are. All those times where I was dealing with toxic relationships and marriages and the things that I was allowing to subject myself to. God
Hmm.
had already told me when he created me that I was better than that. But
Yes.
I had to love myself. So it is in the self-love. I was trying to find love, and
Mm.
love was inside of me. I was trying to find love in bad relationships and all kind of things, but I wasn't trying to find the love within inside of me.
Hmm.
So God, he did that by loving me correctly and showing me what true love is all about. I
Yeah.
was able to love myself. And just like he made me, I always felt so different. But I realize I'm different because I'm called to be different.
Yeah.
So,
I love
that's
that. I
it with
love
me.
that.
Yeah.
I love that because if I could tell anybody anything, and if you didn't get anything, hear what she just said. God had to show her how to love herself. And then when she received what God gave her, then she was able to apply it to herself.
That's
And
right.
now she was able to give it out.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is going to be into my next thing. Not only is she a powerful speaker, preacher, entrepreneurial woman, command that room. Pastor Tonya is a mother that she stated, and she a grandma. I don't know if they call her grandma or nana, but she's a
They call me
grandma.
grandma.
If you could talk about your kids a little bit, could do a little shout out to your grandkids, whatever you want to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are my babies. Yes, my children, wonderful children. Shamara is my oldest daughter, and Shamara has three children herself. And that's where my grandbabies, and my oldest is Lanaya Renee, Leanna, and my grandson LJ, who looks exactly like me.
Yes, he
She
does.
is she is an absolutely wonderful daughter. I thank God she was there experiencing. We were raising each other. I had her very
Mm,
young, and I talk about when my virginity was taken, and I got pregnant with her,
okay,
and I love her. I will never regret her because she's my best friend. She really is. And
that's
she's a
wonderful.
wonderful, wonderful mother. She has developed and she is developing into this awesome young woman. And my grandchildren, oh my God, I just love them to death. They're very smart. They're very smart. Sometimes
You
that
see how she's
sickly
smiling,
smart.
y'all? You see how she's smiling about her grandkids? She love her grandkids. I can
They
see
bring
that.
me great joy. They
Yes.
bring me great, great joy. And
That's awesome.
also my son, my oldest son, he's my middle child. His name is Kalijah. Kalijah tests my gangster a little bit. He's the one that challenges mom. But yes, he's a very, very respectable young man, and he just had his first baby, my
Oh,
fourth grandchild, Araya, and
wonderful.
she is amazing.
That's
She
great.
makes me smile. And also my younger son, Maurice. Oh, I just thank God for him. He's that a real smart child. Always was quiet. He keeps to
Yeah.
himself. But that's my model boy. You might
Yeah.
see a lot of pictures of him in the magazine,
Mhm.
but yes, they are beautiful, beautiful children, and I love them. They make me so happy, and I'm proud of them. They're good children, and they always have been. I've never had to worry, and they're not in the streets, and
Yeah.
so I'm blessed. I am truly
Awesome.
blessed with some wonderful children and grandchildren.
Wonderful. And then also, you have a wonderful guy. That's my big brother, Pastor Youssef. Talk about him a little bit. 'Cause I see the reason why I'm doing this, everybody, because it's really important to see the balance. And we're going to get to that
Yeah.
question, but to see the balance of someone that's in ministry, someone that's in entrepreneurship, loves her husband, loves her children, loves her grandchildren, and she also loves other people. So if you don't mind, just talk about Pastor just for a couple seconds, couple minutes.
Yes, oh yes. Pastor Yusuf Morris, my pastor, my husband, my friend. I am grateful for him entering into my life. We are so different, you guys. But the Lord is using our differences to
Yeah.
do what we do in the ministry. And
Yes.
honestly, I'm a different type. I'm gangster. I came from a little bit of these streets. He wasn't. He's like Carlton.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's okay to be different as long as we allow God
And that's a
to
perfect
enter
thing.
into the middle of us,
Yes.
and put us together. I remember in psychology, and I studied psychology, they took a man's brain and a woman's brain, and when you held them up, there were spots and spaces in the brains on both sides. But when
Hmm.
they took them and they put them together, it
Hmm.
became one complete brain. It became whole. So
Yeah.
I always look at that, and I look at that's like Yusuf and I. We have these two different brains. We have this two ways, different ways of thinking. Sometimes we up, sometimes we down. But
Hmm.
yet, if you put us together in God, it
Smash.
becomes one whole head, one
I love
brain.
that. And the reason why, again, and thank you so much, Pastor Tonya. And the reason why I did that is because we need to see more healthy relationships in the church. We have to be able to see that because we hear about it, but sometimes we don't really get to see it. We don't really get to see the balance. So my next question is, we're almost there, everybody, but I feel like this is a good conversation. I need you all to share this with someone. Share this with sisters, your grandma, your auntie, your cousin. Share it with someone. So with all that being said, Pastor Tonya, all that is on your plate, how do you balance your entrepreneurship, grandma now, or four grandchildren, your children, and pastor, and how do you balance all of that? How do you do
You
it?
didn't. And I work a full-time job where I'm an actual supervisor.
You know what, y'all?
Brother,
How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you
you know
balance?
what? I'm still trying to figure that out. But that goes back to how you said you got to command. You got to command respect, and you also command. You have to be able to command what you need. I'm doing a lot, but I'm also conscious of my assignment. Am I doing what I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
Or am I doing more stuff than I'm supposed to do? I'm
Mm-hmm.
conscious of my time. And also I'm 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 making sure that I make time for myself.
Yeah.
So it's about knowing what you're supposed to do and doing it at the right times that you're supposed to do it. Some days, every minute, every second of the day, it goes from constant calls all the time. I'm always ministering. I'm ministering and praying for people on my job.
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere. So there are times where I have to say no.
Right.
There are times where I have to say, not at this time. I've come to a place where I have given more of myself to others than I gave to myself and then I gave to God. But then I made a promise to God that I won't put more into nothing else before I put it into what you've called me to do. So I,
Mm-hmm.
I won't allow people to put more on me. I
Right.
will say, I can't do it. If I
I
need
love
to
it.
rest, I'm going to rest. So that's what
Yeah.
we all need to do. I know that God called me to minister. I know that He's called me to people, but sometimes I got to take the phone and cut it off. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I got to go to the hotel and just relax.
That's right.
Sometimes I got to take a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I got to get a massage, get my hair cut, get my
Right.
nails done,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I
Right.
have to make myself feel pretty. But
Self-care.
mostly, yes,
Mm-hmm.
self care, but mostly and importantly, we need a support system. You need a support system. You need some
Right.
people that when you can't, they will. That when you need a shoulder to cry on, they're there. That when you just need to unplug, you can. So we're not a one man show. So God will sometimes, a lot of times, give us an assignment that's too big for us to fulfill alone. So He'll send people in your life. We have to be willing to trust those people and make sure that they're God sent and be able to allow those people to help us. And sometimes we may have to delegate
That's
some
right.
things to some other people. So we have to, it has to be about the balance of doing what you're supposed to do. Now, when you all over the place and you trying to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, you're trying to people please and all this stuff, you're going to crash and you're going to burn. And you're going to say, why? Woe is me. But it also do what you love. So this ministry I love, the magazine I love. So
Yes.
I'm blessed to do things that I love to do.
I love that. I love that. And again, we're kind of running out of time because it was such a great conversation, good flow. But I want to ask you just two more questions, and then we're going to talk about the book, and I'm going to let you guys go. Again, if you're enjoying this and you're enjoying this conversation, and you feel like you're connected, please share this with someone. Share this.
Yeah.
Pastor Tanya, who is your greatest motivation and why? Who's that particular person or persons?
You know, I can't really say that it's a particular person, but my
Okay.
greatest motivation is all women, all women
Mhm.
who took the bricks that was meant to destroy them, that was
Yeah.
thrown at them to tear them down, and used them to rebuild themselves.
Awesome.
That's who my biggest motivators are. All of you that are out there that was able to pull yourself up out of the quicksand and survive. All of you women that were out there because you showed me your strength and resilience, I said I can do it too. So all of you women that aren't afraid to answer the call, those are my biggest motivators.
That's awesome.
Those are
Y'all
my
hear
biggest.
that? He
And
is
why?
motivated by y'all.
Yes, I'm motivated by your strength. And that's what it should be like. You know,
That's right.
we should be women that we could be motivated by each other and not jealous of each other or
That's
envious
right.
of each other and,
Mhm.
looking down at each other. We should be able to say, you know what? I like what she said. And be able to try to pattern ourselves. And I should be open enough to be able to tell you how I did it and want to help you up instead of keeping you down.
Yes.
Iron
Yes.
sharpens iron. And what
That's
we're
right.
building is an iron relationship. So from city to city, state to state, all over the globe, I'm connected with all of my iron sisters.
I love it. And I think that, and I know we're going over time, but I feel like this is a conversation that a lot of you all need. Um, I think it's one of the greatest things that we all have is each other. Sometimes we kind of might overlook the great things that are in each other,
Yes,
and we don't bring those particular things out like we should. But one
yes,
thing she said is that who's her greatest motivation? Other women. She could have said her auntie. She could have said her sister or her best friend. She said women. I think for me that's very powerful. That's a power statement because it doesn't matter what you look like, what color of your skin. She
yes,
loves you and wants to see you be well, be healed.
yes, yes,
You're looking at a healed, and she's still healing, but a person that has, because there's levels to healing, right? I believe that
mm-hmm,
there's levels to anybody's healing. And so you're
yes,
looking at somebody that took everything, like she said, those bricks that was supposed to take her out, and she started
yes,
building.
yes,
She
mm-hmm,
started to build. So I'm talking to every single mother, every woman out there that feel like they can't, or they look at the child and saying they got this issue, they have this issue. Listen,
yes,
whatever bricks that are against you and your family, especially you, mom,
yes,
grandma,
yes,
auntie,
yes,
you need to build that foundation on those
that's
things that's
right,
trying to take you down because you
that's right,
can do it.
yes,
And this is why I did this month to show you, to encourage you, to motivate you,
yes,
and to push you
yes,
into your purpose. She's working at her purpose. She'll help you,
amen,
but you got to make a decision in your mind that
mm-hmm,
what God is putting you, no man could put asunder. No man can take that
that's right,
away. So it's
yes,
time. And I have a theme that I do with my wife and my family. It's leap year. It's time
yes,
to leap
yes,
into your purpose. It's time to leap. Why am I saying this?
amen.
I don't even know. That's not even what I was trying to
Come
say,
on,
but
say it.
you got to be able to leap. I know you
Yes,
scared. I know
come
you
on,
afraid to leap in. But you
yes,
remember, Daniel, when he's in the lion's den, he had to leap. What do you mean
oh,
by how he had to leap? Well, he was in a fiery furnace,
mhm,
but he had to believe that even though I'm in this fiery furnace, I'm not going to get burned. You might be in
Wow.
your fiery furnace right now, but you won't get burnt. And I'm going to even say this too. Maybe you did get burnt and it hurt, but that
Hmm.
burnt scar, that wound, it's not
Yeah.
going to take you out. That situation
No.
that you're dealing with right now, it's not going to take you out. It's only
Hmm.
going to help you, because sometimes pain gets the
Yeah.
best out of you. And these are the examples that I brought to you on this particular platform to give you
Yeah.
some content to help you build your life. So I'm
Amen.
sorry, I went on off on the tangent. Y'all forgive me. So
No, you're
I felt that
good.
so strongly.
It was much needed.
Thank you. Um, let's talk about this and we'll end.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. I love this.
Yeah.
I think this is something you have to be able to get a copy of this. So Pastor
Yes.
Tanya, if you could for a few moments, can you
Yes.
talk about your LLC? Can you talk about this magazine, please?
Yes, the Lovely Lady magazine, like I said in the beginning, it started out as an ideal and platform. The Lord just made a platform for me to be able to minister. I chose the name Lovely Lady because back in the day, the name Lovely Lady was considered a woman of the night or a prostitute. But what the
Mm,
word lovely means is something beautiful. And a lady, the word lady means born of a female child. So, what I wanted to do by naming it Lovely Lady was to help bring back what the term lovely lady really means. So some of us might have been in situations where we've been dark and it's been, you might suffered some things in a dark way. But now the lovely lady is here too. And it's not about being dainty. If you're dainty, that's fine. But it's about bringing beauty back to us as women and what we are. So in the magazine, we talk about stories of transparency, um, things that we've overcome, relationships, spiritual care, mental health. We talk about it all. So others share their stories with me, and I myself share my own stories. We have a section in it from a man's perspective, where each issue there's a man that contribute, because ladies, we don't know it all, so we want to hear from them on a particular topic. So this particular theme is called The Difficult Woman. Why? Because some of us are considered or deemed difficult. And the word difficult means needing or having skill to understand. So there's some things in life that we may have went through, that we may have suffered, that have caused us to become difficult, to maybe become hard. So this particular magazine is to help bring an understanding to that woman. So we have something from the psychological perspective, and just helping us to understand ourselves, and to bring growth and healing holistically to all women all over the globe.
and the reason why I'm sharing this, she gonna get me, but I'm sharing this because this is a beautiful magazine. It's great, and I'm gonna
Good.
go to the last page. You could talk about this. You didn't get
Yes.
chance to talk about this. Tell
Yes.
them about your ministry, you and Pastor Yusuf.
Yes, we are Redirections Ministry. We are located here in the city of Buffalo, 28 Edison Street, and we have our services on Saturday at 11 o'clock. So I praise God for this ministry that God has given unto us, because we 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 can honestly say that we are a ministry where people that come to us who have gifts and talents, and most of them probably know that they have, but they haven't been utilizing them. So, I'm like an doula, help push and help you give birth to things that is inside of you. So, and even, my husband, he's a person that is, we're not coveting gifts or people, members, and we all belong to God, but we are here pushing those to be the best that they can be in God. So, we notice that some of the people that are faithful to the ministry, these people have ministries and we're helping them to birth them. And Pastor teaches, he's an excellent teacher. So
Mhm.
you can always come there and get a word and get some worship. And we praise God for Brother David. He's on the drums with us. So yeah, sometimes he comes off those drums and he
I do.
ministers in a great way. So, we're very free in the spirit there.
Yes.
So I'm just so
Awesome.
so grateful for the ministry. Come on
Last
down.
question. Last question. How do we get in contact with you? And we're done, everyone.
Well, you can reach me at thelovelylady.magazine.com by email, or also lovely lady, excuse me, thelovelylady.com at gmail.com, or you can reach me at lovelylady.com on the website. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. You can find me just about any social media. So again, look us up.
All right. Well, I went over my time a little bit, but thank you all and I just really appreciate you all coming and hanging out with us. Please share this with someone. Thank you so much, Pastor Tonya, for your time. And listen. You don't want to miss. We got a special guest next week, but I thank you all for spending time with us this week. Please
Yes.
share this. This has been a wonderful time. I will
Yes.
see you next week. Also, before I let you guys go, I have a special registration only Zoom tomorrow at 8 p.m. It's entitled How to Get to Know Your Teen Well. It's free of charge, but you have to register. It's on my particular page. And also catch me this Saturday, Speak Out Loud radio show. You don't want to miss it. Guys, thank you
All
so
right.
much and have a
Thank you.
wonderful, wonderful day.
Good night.